Welcome to today's webinar, Introduction to FCS Express Image Cytometry. Before we get started, I'd just like to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Ghosh. I'm an application specialist with DeNovo Software. And DeNovo Software is a company that's been making cytometry analysis software for over 15 years. We're based out in Los Angeles, California. And back in 2011, we launched our first FCS Express image cytometry software. And since then, we've made several improvements in speed and adding features, and we've added new compatibility to analyze data files that originate from other manufacturers' machines. So what I'd like to do is take you through the basics of FCS Express image cytometry today. And again, if you have any questions, just go ahead and enter those into the Enter a Question for Staff, and we'll be sure to answer those. So the main principles of flow cytometry and image cytometry overlap, such as taking multi-channel fluorescence data and plotting the data in scatter plots and histograms to look for statistically significant differences and changes. With FCS Express Image, you can now take your image cytometry data a step further and leverage the most powerful tools in our flow cytometry toolbox to analyze your multi-parametric data sets. And then you can relate the results back to the original images for confirmation of your results, all within the same software. So you don't have to go back and forth between your raw images in some other viewer in FCS Express. You can do it all in FCS Express, and everything will live update, just as you're used to for your flow cytometry data. Okay, so we really tried to make the image cytometry products be almost exactly the same in functionality for the flow cytometry product. For those of you who are already accustomed to the flow cytometry product, you probably already feel at home in the software because it's that same ribbon and tabs office-based interface. Okay, and the analysis workflow is going to feel very much like a flow cytometry workflow as well, in that you'll be creating gates on populations and subpopulations, adding statistics, and looking for your differences. Okay, so all in all, FCS Express Image will allow you to spend less time reviewing large, overwhelming data sets and sorting through your backlog of raw microscopy images, and instead use tools that have already been proven in the flow cytometry realm to handle data sets with millions of points while still allowing access to those raw images. Okay, so in today's webinar, we're going to go over the basic functionality of FCS Express 5 image cytometry to help you get started. That includes inserting plots, creating gates and statistics, and batch processing your analysis to other programs such as PowerPoint, PDF, and Excel. We'll also show you a couple of example layouts that highlight what FCS Express can do for you. But first, let me introduce you to the workflow of analyzing your image cytometry data. So first of all, images are acquired. That's this first step here, and that's typically done on a microscope outfitted with a digital camera, or it can be done with an image cytometer, of course, and we are compatible with a number of image cytometers on the market. That includes any image cytometer that is exporting to the ICE format, and we're hoping that as time goes on and the ICE format or image cytometry experiment standard is more and more widely accepted as the global standard for image cytometry experiments, just as FCS is now the global standard for flow cytometry experiments, that there will be more and more manufacturers who are able to export to this format. Right now, that includes manufacturers such as Thermo, Yokogawa, Nexalam, Phase Holographic Imaging, Chemometic, and surely more to come in the years following. We can also read microscopic images that are segmented by freeware, including Cell Profiler and ImageJ. Cell Profiler from the Broad Institute and ImageJ, or Fiji, it's now called Fiji, originally developed by the NIH. Both of those you can download for free and use it to segment and extract features from your microscopic images. Life Technologies Tally, Perkin-Elmer, Molecular Devices, and exports from IDEAS software from the Amnis image cytometer. Those are all included as well. We can read all of those images. The next step is image segmentation. And what that means is the process by which cells or other object boundaries are recognized and defined. So in most cases it's going to be cells. In some cases it's going to be other objects, maybe clumps of cells, whatever it is you are analyzing as your main unit, okay? So the segmentation cannot be done by FCS Express, but we can read the segmentation from any of these manufacturer formats that I just went through in that list, okay? And then after image segmentation comes feature extraction. So with feature extraction, any number of features can be extracted from those segmented images. That includes intensity of the object, mean intensity, median intensity, the area of the object, even certain things like the shape of the object, circularity, the perimeter, things like that. And FCS Express can handle as many features and parameters as your third-party software can produce. So really the only limitation comes from your computer's memory. And you'll see that FCS Express 5 is even faster than FCS Express 4, and I think you'll see a really nice difference with that when it comes to analyzing your image cytometry data. Okay? So once this aspect is done, image data generation, then you can move on to your analysis in FCS Express, okay? And so the first step there, of course, is your regular data analysis, which you're already used to, and that includes importing your data into FCS Express, inserting plots, creating gates, adding statistics, and of course, everything that FCS Express is good at in the flow cytometry package, we're just as good at and works the same way in the image cytometry. And so it's very easy to generate publication quality reports, and that includes exporting your results with one click to PDF, PowerPoint, Excel, Word, whatever format you might need. And we can even make bar plots and pie charts and things like that in FCS Express software, and that will help you summarize the results of an entire experiment at a glance, okay? So there's really no need to go to other software, other spreadsheet software, just to make those types of summary charts and plots. Okay? So basically, like I said, we are going to show you some sample layouts, but before we do that, I just want to point out that starting to analyze your data in FCS Express is very, very easy. Okay, so we're going to start with a blank page and prove to you with some raw data files how easy it is to get started with your analysis. But first of all, when you are doing your analysis in FCS Express, we tried to make you feel at home, make it feel like PowerPoint. So just like PowerPoint has slide templates, we have layout templates. So if you always want to work with two plots with statistics tables below that, you can click on this template or any of these other templates that are available for you. Okay? But let's today just start with a brand new page. Okay, so here is our new page. And just like in PowerPoint, when you want to start off with your slide inserting a picture, you would go to the Insert tab and insert a picture. We're going to come to the Insert tab, and we're going to insert what we call a picture plot, which you'll see is going to look just like a picture from your microscope or from your image cytometer, wherever it came from. So we're going to insert this image that came off of a microscope and was subsequently segmented and features extracted in the free cell profiler, which we're compatible with. Okay? So here, hopefully you can see on your monitor, let me zoom in a little bit here. You can see that you have an image of the cytoplasm of cells which were loaded with a fluorescence dye. So, and you see the little holes in the middle, which are the nuclei. Let's insert the corresponding nuclear image. So I'm going to come to my data list, and you'll see that all of the cell profiler files that resided in that folder were automatically added. So in addition to using the Insert tab to insert a plot, I can also just drag and drop from the data list. That's a handy way to do it. So let's drag this corresponding nuclear image out. And we will put in another picture plot. Okay, and so this is just like PowerPoint. So you can move these images around anywhere on your layout. You can resize them. Okay, we can align them together. So let's say we want to make our layout look a little bit more nice and neat. So I'll just highlight both of these and, oops, and align them at the top and make them the same height and width as well. Okay? So, and we'll change the parameter here to DNA. So now we're looking at corresponding images, cytoplasm and DNA. Okay? And this picture plot can also be looked at. You can look at the same data in this picture plot in a dot plot, just like you would with flow cytometry. So let's go ahead and put in one of those dot plots. We will put in a dot plot of the nuclear image right below. Okay, and we'll go ahead and change the parameters. So right now it's defaulting to the first two parameters, which is area, shape, area, and eccentricity. Those are two features that were extracted by Cell Profiler that we're reading in FCS Express. But I'm going to right-click and come to Format and just change a few things about this plot. So instead of the Y parameter eccentricity, let's look at an intensity parameter. So we'll look at the integrated intensity of the DNA. I can click a preview, and you see that the dot plot has updated. And anything that I want to change about the formatting of the plot, I can do that here. So I can type in some sort of free text title, change the font, maybe even give it a different font type and a different color. Okay, I could get rid of the background. Basically anything that you would want to do there, you can do that here. I can even increase the dot size. It's a little bit harder to see. Okay, so now I can see each event a little bit better. And let's just do a quick save here. Okay, so the really cool thing about dot plots and their corresponding picture plots is you can draw a gate on one and immediately see the results backgated on the other. So let's come to our gating tab where all of our gating tools are handily organized. And I'm going to just put in a new rectangle gate here on my dot plot. And let's draw it in the upper right corner, and we'll call this our large, bright nuclei. Okay, and you see that those large bright nuclei have automatically been backgated on the original picture plot. I can even temporarily maximize this so you can see. So it's highlighted these 6 or 7 cells. And of course, just like everything else in FCS Express, this is going to live update. So I'm moving my gate around and you see that more and more cells are being highlighted. I can resize it. Okay, anything at all. I can even change my mind if I don't want it to be a rectangle anymore. I can come into ellipse and choose to replace that gate, and now it's an ellipse. Okay? Conversely, you can draw a gate on a picture plot and see that gate backgated onto a dot plot. So let's do that with the cytoplasmic image. So let's put in a dot plot of the cytoplasm. And again, let's just change the parameters on here. We don't want to look at eccentricity. We're going to look at, on the y-axis, the intensity. There we go. And we'll make those dot sizes a little bit larger as well so it's easier to see. Okay? And so here we're looking at intensity of the cytoplasm versus area. And I'm going to put in a new gate. Let's say we want to look at the small dim cytoplasm. So that would be in this corner here. Okay, and you can see that those are backgated here onto this plot as well. And like I mentioned, you can do the converse, drawing a gate on the picture plot. So I'm going to draw a gate here. Oops, didn't quite get the button. I'm going to draw a gate in the center of the field of view, and we can just call this center of field of view cells. Okay, and you see that those purple cells are backgated on here as well. But it's actually a kind of handy feature, because if you see a strange looking cell or an interesting looking cell and you want to see where that falls on the dot plot, you can actually just draw a gate around that one cell. So perhaps I'm interested in this bright cell up here, and I'll just call this my one cell gate. Okay, and kind of hard to see where that green cell is on here because it's only one, but I can just take my green cell gate, drag it onto the dot plot, and see where that falls. It's probably way in the corner, so let's just change it to one that's maybe a little bit easier to see. Let's look at perhaps this one here. Okay, so I've got two cells in there actually, so those are those two cells right there. Are there any questions so far? That makes sense to everyone? Okay, great. So it's also very easy to look at your cells in a sort of gallery view. And so what I'm going to do that is come to my Insert tab and let's insert a data grid. Okay, so there's a lot of data in here right now. It's actually a very long window because currently it is not gated on anything. So see, there's no gate. But I can gate this on, let's say, the large bright nuclei. I'll just drag that over. Or I can use this drop-down menu as well. Whatever you want to do. And you'll see that there's only a few events in this data grid now. And this data grid is basically showing every event that falls in your gate and the value for every single parameter that you acquired. So that's why this is such a wide grid. But what I'm going to do is right-click on it and format it to get rid of the parameters I don't want to see. So hopefully you're getting a sense that in FCS Express, if you're not quite sure what to do, just try right-clicking. So whether it's a data grid or a picture plot or a regular dot plot, just right-click on the object and you'll probably find what you need in that pop-up menu. Okay? And usually it's going to be this top option, the format menu. So we're going to come here to parameters to display, and let's only choose to show a few of these. So maybe the area, we'll show the mean intensity of the DNA, and we'll show the two pictures as thumbnails. Okay, so now you can see that the data grid has been updated to only show those parameters, and I can even make these rows a little bit taller, and you can start to see your cells in a sort of thumbnail gallery view. So that's really handy if you want to just take a quick look at your population and verify what it is that you think you're looking at. Okay, and of course that will live update as you change your gates as well. All right, it's also quite easy to add statistics in FCS Express. And that, as you've probably guessed, is as easy as just right-clicking on a plot. Whoops. Right-clicking on a plot and coming to statistics on the pop-up menu. Now you have a bunch of statistics you can choose from. You can right-click on that table and take away or add in different statistics. So let's add in the percent of gated parent. XCV. Okay, so it's very simple. And the cool thing is once your layout is all built like this, you can go next and previous on the data tab and kind of just see how every data file in your data list looks. So now I'm looking at the nuclei 10 CP out and cells 10 CP out. Before it was the 5. But this shows how you could use your layout as a template. And you can even set up a batch process to send your results out to Excel, PDF, PowerPoint. Okay, so we'll do that with one of our more interesting layouts a little bit on, so I'll leave the batch processing for a little bit later. But there's one more cool thing I want to show you can do in FCS Express to summarize your results before we move on to some more interesting example layouts. And that is how to create a custom table. So this default table that we got here, If you remember, we got it by right-clicking on the plot and coming to Statistics. And that is handy, but in a way it's limited because it's only summarizing the results from this one particular plot. Whereas in reality, when you do an experiment, most likely you want to summarize the results from multiple plots on your layout. So basically, what you can do, rather than only relying on these default statistics tables, is you could insert a nice-looking text table into which you can drag stats from all over your layout. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. We're going to just put in a text box right here. And we'll right-click and insert a table. Maybe give it another column. Okay, and let's give this table a title. We'll call it Summary Stats from Different Plots. This is a fully functional word editor. I can merge the cells, center align, I can change the font size, whoops. So you can actually make this look as nice as you want to. I won't go through the whole deal with you, but basically if you right-click and go to Table Properties, you can start doing table borders, cell borders. You can raise the cells, make them look sunken. So you can make it look very beautiful and professional. It can be totally appropriate for inclusion in posters or presentations or publications, okay? We're just going to keep it kind of simple for today. So let's go ahead and show you how you can pull in stats from different plots on your layout. So you've already seen me gate plots by dragging and dropping, right? Like I can drag this gate over to this plot, and now this plot is gated on that purple gate. You can also drag a gate out to an empty spot on your layout to insert a new plot. And I'm going to show you that drag and drop works for statistics too. So let's drag this large bright nuclei gate into the cell, okay? And we'll say we want to look at percent of gated cells, all right? And you're seeing that it is showing up highlighted in gray, and that is because it's a token. So what that means is it's a live updating piece of text. So it's going to look gray when it's the text box is in edit mode, because when I move the gate around, it's going to update. But you see when the text box is not in edit mode, it looks like a normal piece of text. So it's perfectly appropriate for exporting to other programs. Okay, and let's type in a label there. Okay, and you can also drag and drop from the stats tables too. So if you have a nice default stats table and you just want to grab one of these stats really quick, you can drag that in like that. Okay, so this was percent gated large bright, and this is going to be a cytoplasmic stat. Whoops. And we can even drag a whole plot in. And maybe we just want to know how many events we have. Okay? So that is how you would go about making a table with stats from different plots on your layout. And you can even make all kinds of statistics like custom ratios and things like that. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask, or we hope you'll join us for our statistics webinar, which will show you how to do all of that. Okay, but at this point I would like to move on to one of our other layouts. Okay, so let's take a look at this layout. So currently there's no data in this plot because this layout has been saved empty as a template, which is kind of cool because that means you can save all of your layouts as templates. You don't really have to do anything specific and just reuse the layout over and over again every time you repeat an experiment. So let's go ahead and load in some of our data files, and that's here on the data list, like I showed you before, which is down here. And the data I'm about to load in comes from an instrument from Thermo called the Array Scan. And you'll see once I load it in, you have this heat map being populated. So FCS Express 5 has the ability to load your data in Heatmaps, which is a really really convenient way for looking at things like drug screens or transfection screens, any type of experiment that you're typically doing in a multi-well plate, because it's a large amount of data and you just need to screen through it quickly. Okay, so this particular experiment is a drug screen where every row of the plate is a different drug treatment, okay, and that's depicted up here. So don't worry too much about the details. I'm just going to take you through a little bit of what FCS Express can do to facilitate this kind of analysis. So let's come to this other page here. Okay, so basically, take a look at this picture plot down here in the lower right corner and this heat map. So right now you see that this picture plot, it's gated on the well gate. From the current gate menu, you see it's gated on the well gate. And so with these heat maps, you have the ability to create gates on wells, and that's what we're displaying in the picture plot. So I am going to take a look at what the well gate is highlighting now. So it might be a little hard to see. Let me just point it out right here. So right now the well gate is this red outlined cell. Okay, but what I'm going to do is change the well gate, and you'll watch the data automatically update in that picture plot at right. So instead of that well, let's look at these 3 wells. You see it updated right away. I can even select a non-contiguous region. So this kind of facilitates your looking at replicates, for example. You don't have to merge your files. You can just draw a gate around your wells. All right. Let's zoom in a little bit here, just so we can see a little bit more detail on the image. Okay, so another interesting thing is we have a contour plot here, and I'm going to format this just to add in some of my outlier dots so I can see the structure of my population a little better. There we go. Okay, so basically we are looking at an orange gate on this plot called elongated cells. Okay, so let's gate this lower plot here on those elongated cells. I'm just going to drag it over to the plot. And you see now we're only seeing the elongated cells in this plot. And of course, if I update the original gate, you see that that image is updating as well. Okay, so what this allows you to do is sort of hone in on the population you're interested in, because in reality you can't analyze a whole 96 well plate all at once. That's just far too much data to look at in one plot and make any sense of. But with FCS Express, you can analyze it well by well, or group certain wells together and look at all those together in the picture plot, and or just take a look at a certain morphological category of cells, in this case elongated cells, in your picture plot. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've done with the data once we've decided which cells we're interested in looking at. One of the things you can do is look at your cells in a data grid, which I showed you before. So I'll drag my elongated cells over to this data grid. Let's add in some more parameters here. We don't seem to be looking at anything at the moment. Okay, so there you go. So now you can see for all of the members, all of the events that are members of the elongated cells gate, you can see event by event what the parameter values are for every parameter you're interested in. Okay? So let's take a look at one of these other pages. So here we are looking at a few different 2D plots, and we're looking at every single drug that was analyzed. Okay, and you can change your mind about what populations you want to look at. So currently, these are all just looking at, I think, all the events in the experiment. But if we only want to look at elongated cells, I can take my all wells gate, and this is in my gate view. So you can come to Insert Gate View, and that's what this item is here. It's an interactive legend of your gates. And I can drag my all wells gate to be a child of elongated cells. Okay, and you see that the populations have updated, so there's far fewer events in the plots, of course. So I can change my mind back and say, no, you know what, I really need to look at all my cells, and it goes back without a hitch. Okay, so it's very easy to change your gating strategy and your logic of analysis on the fly in FCS Express. The other cool thing is, like I mentioned before, we have the capability to make really nice reporting plots and charts in FCS Express. So here's a bar plot that you don't have to go to Excel or other spreadsheet programs to make. You can just change your quads, and you can see that the bar plot is updating in real time. Okay? It's pretty cool. If I go back to my original page that I was at before, you'll see that the quads on all of those plots are actually linked. So whenever I move that quad, these quads moved as well. Okay? And the other cool thing is we only have one data file here in the data list right now, the 1 hour time point, but as is the case with drug screens, you usually want to do some sort of time sequence. So let's go ahead and load in the other files that go along with this experiment. So we'll load in our 24-hour time point, and I'm going to load in my 48-hour time point. And just like I showed you before when we built our very simple layout from scratch, you can use these next previous buttons to cycle through your samples. So let's click next and see how the response changed. Okay, so there's our 24-hour time point. Coming up is our 48-hour time point. So you see, if you were doing this in another program, you would probably be creating your analysis over and over again to some extent for every time point. And here it's as easy as the click of a button to just summarize your entire experiment. Okay, so let's do this. Remember I said that I would like to show you a batch process. So I think this is an interesting layout to show you that. So if we want to set up a batch process to send our results out to other programs like PDF, Excel, etc., we'll just come to our batch tab and click on batch actions. And let's put this on the left so it just stays out of the way. I'm going to put my data list down in here too. Keep everything looking nice and neat. All right. And looks like there's already one in here. So let's add in one from scratch. So we're going to put in a PowerPoint. Okay. And let's just open it automatically. So I know there's a lot of things in this window. The only things you really need to worry about are, of course, creating a file name and a file path so you know how to find your file. I would recommend most of you want to do combining the output into one PowerPoint file. So this way you'll have all three of your time points in the same PPT. Okay, so generally you want to choose that second option. And we can also choose we want to export all pages or just the current page. We could do all pages, and this is a 4-page layout, and we have 3 iterations. So in that case, we'd have a 12-page or a 12-slide PowerPoint file. I'm actually just going to do the current page because I just want to see the bar plot. Okay, and we'll define our file path here. Let's just erase these drawings. There we go. All right, and we're also going to put in an Excel because sometimes, despite the ability to look at bar plots and pie charts and things like that in FCS Express, there might be occasions when you just want to just dump a lot of data into Excel. So let's set up one of those together. And that's very simple too. Just set up your file path. Whoops. I think I clicked on the wrong one there. Excuse me. You need to click on the first Excel option there, column mode. Alrighty, so we're almost done, but we just need to tell FCS Express what stats we want to export because, you know, of course, we don't want to export all the stats. That would be far too large a spreadsheet to make sense out of. So let's come back to our original page that we started off with. Oops, I think that's the wrong one. Alrighty. So we'll come to this page instead, okay? So again, this works by drag and drop. So if I want my percent of elongated cells, I'll just drag that over. Okay, and we'll put percent of gated cells. New in FCS Express 5, you can actually select multiple stats at the same time. So I'm going to just keep Control pressed and also export the X median and the X standard deviation as well. Okay, and as you'll see when we do run the export, the column titles will come through automatically in Excel too. So whereas in FCS Express version 4 you had to type in the descriptor, now you no longer have to do that. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and click Run and wait for those exports to come up. The 2 of 2 refers to 2 actions, PowerPoint and Excel. The 1 of 3 refers to the number of iterations, and in our case that corresponds to the 3 data files. So we've done 2 out of 3, only 1 more to go, and then those should pop up automatically. Okay, so here is our Excel spreadsheet. Let's auto-fit the row. Whoops. Expand the column so we can see the descriptors. So these are the descriptors that come through automatically now in FCS Express 5. So you don't need to type that in. But basically you have 1 row of data for each iteration, or in most cases 1 row of data for every data file in your data list, okay? And so those are all the stats that we exported. And our PowerPoint looks pretty good as well. So looks like we exported this page, and you can see that it's a little bit different for every sample, especially if you keep your eye up here on the contour plot. Okay, so like I said, you could have exported all the pages if you wanted to, and then you'd have you know, each iteration's pages grouped together. So you would, in this case, have a 12-slide PowerPoint file. Are there any questions about the batch exporting? Does that all make sense? Okay, great. All right, so if there's no questions about that, I'm going to show you a couple more cool layouts that just kind of highlight some of the great things FCS Express can do for you. So let's take a look at, for instance, you know what, let's look at a new layout. And I'm going to insert a really cool cell cycle file, because a lot of folks these days, when they're doing cell cycle analysis, they like to correlate typical flow parametric type data with imaging data. So for instance, you know, you may have a slide or something like that, or you may have, let's say, an experiment where you have your cycling cells, your cells in G2, and you want to see how they look morphologically compared to your non-cycling cells. Okay, so it's really easy to do that in FCS Express. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a picture plot from an experiment from the Nexalam image cytometer. So Nexalam is one of our corporate partners. They make these nice benchtop image cytometry experiments, which make it easy for, you know, a typical lab to just access the benefits of image cytometry within their own lab. So not a lot of bench space is needed. It's very easy to use. And we have some data files from a cell cycle experiment from a Nexalam instrument. So let's go ahead and put one of those in. And the really cool thing is these days Nexalam is exporting to ICE, so we can read that ICE format, which is the Global Image Cytometry Experiment standard format. So there's a lot of cells on this image. You can see a lot of little specks, so each little gray speck is a cell. I'm going to zoom in so we can at least just see a little bit more detail. So we'll zoom in. So hopefully now you can kind of see the membrane. I believe this is a phase image, so that's why it looks a little bit gray like that. But let's put in a dot plot as well of the same image, okay? And we're going to look at, on the x-axis, the intensity of F1, which is the cell cycle dye, and object area, all right? And let's again zoom in a little bit. So you can kind of already see that we have two different populations here, right? So we have most of our cells here and then another cluster up here. So it kind of looks like cell cycle data already. So let's go ahead and insert our multi-cycle plot. And we'll look at F1 intensity on the x-axis. Okay, there we go. Let's magnify this a little bit. So we just look at the cells of interest. So in FCS Express, you have the ability to apply various models to your cell cycle data, and we do have a webinar all about that. So I'm not going to go into the details about that today, but I just want you to be aware that if you want to apply a rigorous analysis to your cell cycle data in an image cytometry-based experiment, that you can do that in FCS Express. Okay? And again, getting statistics off of this multi-cycle plot is just as easy as it was off of a typical plot. Just by right-clicking, you can get all your summary stats that you need, okay? And if I want to see where these cells are on the picture plot, for instance, I can just draw a gate around these cells here. These are probably my G2 cells. Okay, and you see that they're already highlighted in red here. And of course, that's going to update as I move my gate around. Okay? So, and there's one more layout I want to show you. Let me just open that up. It should be right here. So the layout I'm going to open up and show you is, it's going to take a minute to open up because it is pretty large, but basically it's an image of an entire rat brain that was taken at low power. So it's a lot of histological sections that were then stitched together after acquisition. And that's something that we can handle in FCS Express. So whether you're using Cell Profiler or ImageJ, both freeware, if you want to stitch a lot of images together, those two programs can do that, and we have the workflows for that on our website and in our tutorials, and then we could read that in FCS Express. So that should be opening up in a moment. There we go. So this is pretty much the same. I mean, there's no new principles I want to show you, but it's just, you know, it's just kind of cool because it's a very complex image. So maybe if I make this DAPI high gate a little bit larger, you'll be able to see the cells better because I'm not sure how everybody's monitor is. But you can see now in this upper right plot, you can see the morphological structure of the rat brain that was imaged here. Okay, and so the DAPI high cells, you can see that they're at the edge here, and those are the nuclei being highlighted. And of course, you can move around your other gates and watch the populations update. So just keep an eye on the other picture plots and you'll see them updating. All right, and of course, you can also do lots of cool things like making bar plots and things like that that are going to update as you move your gates. So here I'm comparing gate 1, gate 2, gate 3 in the bar plot, and that's all updating as well. Okay, and we've made FCS Express 5 very fast, and so I think even if you're already used to FCS Express V4 for your imaging files, definitely try downloading the V5 demo. I think you'll be really impressed. And the last layout I wanted to show before letting you go for today is this colony counting layout. So in FCS Express, you're really only limited by your imagination and what you want to do. So this is a picture that wasn't even taken with a microscope. Excuse me. So basically, you can just snap a picture with your iPhone or your digital camera off of a Petri dish, run that through Cell Profiler or ImageJ, and analyze the results in FCS Express. So this was a colony screen that one of our customers was doing, and they had so many plates, and they didn't want to spend hours and hours counting the colonies on each plate. So they just created a workflow in FCS Express to do that. And so you can see that we're looking at red colonies versus white colonies. So here, if I change the gates, of course, that image will update. And if I only want to look at my large colonies, I can grab that gate and drag it onto this image and only see the large colonies, okay? So it's really useful for some kind of transfection screen or something similar that you might be doing when you're only interested in colonies of a certain size or color and you don't have time to sit through, 500 plates and count them by hand. And of course, all the stats here are here and they're easily accessible at a click, okay? So basically that's FCS Express in a nutshell. There's a whole lot more things we could show you, but we don't have time in this webinar. We do have additional webinars coming up, and I will show you towards the end on the website where you can sign up for those webinars. But before we go out to the website, I just want to show you some of our help resources. So you can come to the File tab, click on Help, and then you can come to Contents or Tutorials. So Contents would be if you're searching for a particular term like gates. You can come to Contents and just type in gates and all the results coming up related to gates will show up. Or you can come to Tutorials. And the tutorials are going to be a step-by-step list of instructions for going about your work in FCS Express. So we even have sample data you can work with. And basically, if you click on picture plots, you can see how to work with picture plots. That will go through a lot of what I went through with you today. ImageJ export, cell profiler export. It will take you through what you need to do to export your images. And there's sample data that we have online that goes along with these pipelines that we've created. Okay? And also for getting help, if you download the FCS Express 5 demo, which I'll show you how to do, and you run it on your machine, when you first start it up, you'll be faced with this startup screen. So if you need any help at all, you can just click on the Support tab here. That will take you to this web page where you can click on the first link to request a phone call or a live screen share session with our team. We can help you out over the internet with your own layout, looking through your own data or our sample data, and help you learn more about the software features that might be useful to you. You can click on the second link to request an on-site visit to your lab, as we'll be traveling extensively in the coming months to support FCS Express 5. I'm sure we can arrange something. And lastly, you can contact us the old-fashioned way. Just send us an email at support@denovosoftware.com or give us a call and leave us a message, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours, many times much sooner. This is our home page here, so I want to point out a couple of things. You can click on our Download tab, FCS Express Demo, if you haven't already downloaded a demo of FCS Express 5. If you'd like to try out your image cytometry files, please download the FCS Express Plus or the FCS Express Image Demo. And we hope you'll also join us for some upcoming webinars. And that's here on the right side of the screen. You can click on Register to come to our registration page and register for the webinars that might be interesting to you. So hopefully what I've shown you today is that FCS Express Image leverages powerful and proven tools of flow cytometry analysis with new features and enhanced speed to improve your image cytometry analysis. We're compatible with many image formats, both Cell Profiler and ImageJ freeware, as well as several manufacturer formats out there on the market. FCS Express Image allows you to move from population-based analysis to single-cell analysis at the click of a button. New image handling features allow fully interactive analysis between all data plots and your images and cell galleries. And perhaps most importantly, the intuitive Microsoft Office PowerPoint-like interface, where we have these ribbons and tabs, will allow you to feel at home right from the start in using the software. So again, thanks so much for joining us today, and we hope to hear from you if you have any questions.